I've given away over $250,000 in WPT Golden Passport tickets over the past few weeks. I haven't done the best job of announcing it here on the YouTube channel, but I've announced it on Twitter and Instagram. In the latest batch of winners, there's over 41 of you guys who won, and I can't wait to announce it here in 3, 2, 1. Congratulations to all the names on screen here. I can't wait to see you guys in Vegas on December 13th for this free roll. But if you haven't qualified yet, there's still many chances to do so. There's 300 tickets up for grabs on Club WPT Gold, and the free rolls are live now. There's going to be a free roll every single night until December 13th. If you want to qualify for a seat into this $5 million tournament, I still can't believe how much money there is. You can do so and earn it playing on the site. Use the code Rampage. Anyone who is signed up and verified an account can hop in and play in these free rolls every single night. Click the link in the description below, and let's get into the video. All right, I'm back in Vegas. It's been a solid 2 months of just non-stop traveling around Asia, and being in Vegas means two main constants. One is to DoorDash food irresponsibly, which is a habit I'll probably grow up and change out of. And number two, something I don't want to ever change out of, is this cold plunge. I'm using it here. The issue is that I haven't done this in 2 months, and it's actually pretty cold in Vegas. It's 62 degrees, which actually feels more like 55 or 50. Anyways, cold plunge is set at 41 degrees, which is my normal temperature that I do, but to go from 2 months without it and then back onto it. Anyways, I'm gonna be in there for 3 minutes, and welcome to the struggle. It's gonna be tough, but at least I'm back home and it feels good to be in Vegas for a little bit. Can't feel my feet. It's fine. It's time to go inside. Okay, today I'm gonna do something I haven't done for a very long time. I am here in front of the Bellagio poker room. Plan is to play some 5-10. I keep going down in stakes and I keep losing. So let's go back to some of my roots where I kind of started. Not like where I officially started, but you know, these stakes is like my first introduction to taking shots and stuff in Vegas here. So I don't know, gotta go down to where they disrespect my raises or just go back to my roots, because I keep going down in stakes, I keep losing piles of money, and we're gonna try something new today. 5-10 at Bellagio. Good luck. I'm waiting for a seat right now, and we're on the waiting list, so we'll see. Alright everyone, we are back where we belong, playing some 5-10 at the Bellagio with a $2,500 max buy-in. Pick up ace-9 offsuit in the hijack with the player to my right limping in first. I raise it up to $50 and my opponent makes the call. Off to a flop of jack-8, 7-2 spades. He checks over to me, got a flush draw. I've got a straight draw and an ace. I decide to check this one back. Turn comes to jack, and when my opponent checks once again, well, I feel like I could just bet for value and protect ace high, assuming it's probably the best hand with some equity to go along with it. I bet 50 bucks. My opponent makes the call. Turn now comes to the 10, but it's a spade. The flush draw gets there. He checks once again, but I do have my straight, so gonna bet for value, hoping he has hit some sort of a pair. I bet 100 bucks. My opponent quickly makes the call, and my straight is no good. He has a bigger straight in queen 9 of clubs. Oh my goodness. I guess I'm glad I didn't lose more, given that it was a spade on the river, but hey, straight under straight, unlucky to start things off. In the following hand, I'm in the $20 straddle with ace jack of hearts. Underlying gun player raises to 50, hijack makes the call, and I decide to just come along for a call as well. Off to a flop, which is perfect in jack 7. 2 spades in a club. Let's finally run hot here. Trips in top kicker, action checks to the hijack opponent who bets $50. Look, I'm going to tell you right here, right now, that $50 is not going to fly. I bump it up to a check raise to 170, trying to find ways to get all the money in the middle. The undergun player folds, but the hijack comes along for a call. Let's go. We've got action. Turn is the deuce of clubs. Brings in a backdoor flush draw. So now it's pretty tricky, guys. How can I get all the money into the middle? There's 2 flush draws out there. We've got over $2,000 to play back. I overbet to $650. One of the few times I finally actually get to overbet and have a strong hand. And now I'm just breathing and praying for some more action and a call. Obviously, if my opponent was to go all in, I'd be very, very happy about this. But for 650, he does come along for a call. Let's go, baby. We've got action. We're off to a river, which comes the 7 of clubs. Interesting card. Now, I end up with the full house, which is obviously fine and good, but a little annoying. If my opponent had a worse jack than me, then we're just going to be chopping anyways. The backdoor flush gets there, and I'm first to act. Going over my options, I feel like I actually wanted to check this one, because if my opponent has a full house, he's going to be all in anyways, and maybe I can allow my opponent to just be bluffing, so that would be good. I check. He goes all in for 1440, and I snap this one off so fast. And he shows pocket 7s. What the f is that? What's going on? How does that happen? It's boat under freaking quads. How does he have quads? And how does he have this flop? Oh my god, I can't win anywhere, it seems like. What an insane cooler. Super tilted now, but like, man, I can't win anywhere. Wherever I go, I'm still getting coolered, and time to settle in and relax, because I add on in for $5,000 total now after I just double up my opponent. Just what an easy life to just flop a boat and get paid like that. Really annoying spot, obviously, but I settle down eventually. Not immediately, but I settle down eventually. And I pick up Jack 7 of diamonds on the big blind. The hijack raises 30. I make the call, and the flop is 3, 4, 5, 2 spades in the club. Action goes check, check, and we're off to a turn, which comes the Jack of clubs. Binking top pair, I throw a small bet of 20 bucks out there, and my opponent makes the call. River board pairing 3, I decide to go for a little more value, maybe a little too ambitious, but I fire 70 bucks into the middle here, and my opponent folds. You might be saying, why the hell are we adding such a small hand? Well, I won the pot. Of course, I got to include something solely for morale, because this might be the only hand I win all day. Next, with Queen Jack offsuit in the hijack, raise it up to 30 bucks, and I get the button and big blind to call. Flop comes at 9, 3, deuce, rainbow. Big blind checks over to me. I decided that this is a good spot to fire $60 out there. Got some overcards, got the backdoor straight opportunities. Let's bet 60 bucks, and I get the button to make the call who's in position to me. Now we're off to a turn, which comes a queen. All right, that's pretty cool, banking top pair. Now let's go for a little more value. I fire out $150, and my opponent makes the call. Now off to another river, which comes another queen. Wow, runner trips. What a welcome sight to see. I think I actually might win another pot, 2 in a row. How crazy would that be? I fire out $330 this time. Just want to get some more money. Would love to get paid after such a ridiculous beat. But he does not give me any more. He just folds, and I end up just scooping the pot, which is nice. I make a couple hundred back, but still got quite the hole to climb out of. Everybody loves deuces. I'm in the big blind. The cutoff raises 30. I decide to call, and the flop is 5-5 deuce. Wow. Kind of like the reverse of what happened in that Jack 7 hand. Let's hope my opponent has a 5 somehow. I check to my opponent, he fires out $40. I decide to just call here. No check raised. I have the entire board locked up, and he bet a bigger size here, I think. So we're going to go to a turn, which is the 9 of diamonds. It brings a backdoor flush draw, and I check to my opponent. He does not take the baits and now checks back, which is very, very sad. The river now comes a queen, which maybe might have hit him. Anyways, with deuces and a full house, I think this is a pretty good time to exercise the overbet option. I fire out $300, definitely have a lot of hands that would want to be firing out so big, kind of like 4-3 or 6-4, 6-3. Hands like that have no showdown equity and wants to bluff. And for 300, it's 200% pot bet. My opponent makes the call. That's lovely. Show the boat. Gonna win it. I don't win the entire maximum, but hey, at least chips are pushed my way, and it's nice for morale that I flopped a full house. Okay, safe to say this 5-10 experiment is not going great, but good news, gonna take a shot taking my way into 10-20. The game just got called, so it's gonna be a brand new game today. End of 5-10, I think I was in for $5,000 total, and I'm out for something like 3,200-ish, so minus like 1,800 at 5-10 in a couple hours. Now gonna play 10-20 for a couple hours and try to run it up. We'll see. The 10-20 game is a go. I'm in for $10,000 total, and we're playing four-handed here at this point with ace king of clubs in the small blind. The button raises to $60. I make it $280, and my opponent makes the call. We end up bricking on the flop, but I decide to c-bet $200, and my opponent ends up letting his cards go. So at least going way better than how the 5-10 started. We win a 3-bet pot here immediately. Although not a huge one, it's still nice to build momentum. And we pick up ace king offsuit yet again. I raise it up on the button to $60, and the big blind makes the call. Flop comes 9-7 high, and sitting with ace king when my opponent checks over to me. Definitely have merit to c-bet this one, but I decided to check this one back. When the turn comes a board pairing 9, my opponent fires out $60, and here definitely going to continue with the call with ace king. Got 2 overs, could be good, could be bluffing, you know, all those things. We're off to a river, which comes a king. Wow, banking top pair, and what's better than top pair is that it's top pair, top kicker. He fires out $100, and at this point, definitely think I have to raise for value. You may think that only trips would be raising here on the river, but I think my hand is for sure good enough against this size. So I make it $400, raising 4x his bet on the river here, and my opponent thinks about it for a little bit before ultimately sticking chips in for a call. Gonna show the ace king, and it will win. So 2 for 2 in these 10-20 hands. Very nice when you ramp up the stakes a little bit like this and start winning pots. And when we start winning some pots, we're going to get some aggressive action here because the cutoff raises to $60 in the next hand. With ace jack of hearts in the small blind, I make it $280, 3-betting yet again. And the hijack comes along for a call. This time the flop comes queen jack 8 rainbow. So middle pair, somewhat connected board. And I don't know if I will have too many 10-9s versus my opponent having fully 10-9. So I decided to check this one with just my middle pair. And my opponent ends up checking this one back. Turn comes the deuce of hearts, brings in my backdoor flush draw, and I'm still going to play this a little bit conservatively. I check to my opponent, and this time he fires out $280. It's about a half pot size bet. Now, I don't think raising makes any sense here. It's just simply too weak to raise for value, and, well, folding is out of the question. So let's make the call and see what develops on the river, which comes the ace of spades. Improving now to 2 pair. And I would love to be able to lead at this card, but that seems a little too face up. So I check to my opponent, and sadly he will not fire out any more money. He checks this back, and that is going to mean my 2 pair will win the pot. So here we go on a little bit of a hot streak, 3 for 3 here. And that all leads up to one of the biggest pots of the night here. Strap in, everybody, because we got action when the cutoff raises to 60. Button 3-bets to 210, and I've got queen jack suited in the small blind. I decided to 4-bet out of position to $700. I think my hand is just a really fun 4-bet candidate, to be honest with you. It's suited, it's connected, 40% of a royal, and we're here to gamble. Cutoff ends up making the call, which might mean he has a pretty strong hand, to be honest with you. He's out of position against the button player. He only has $60 committed, but he's committing $700 now into the pot. The button gets out of the way, and we're going to go heads up in this 4-bet pot. You don't play many 4-bet pots here. The flop is 10, 5, 6 rainbow. Here, a whole lot of nothing. I don't expect my opponent to have 5s or 6s here ever, and he'll certainly have some pocket 10s. And at this point, with queen jack, I think it's a good enough hand to start barreling and putting some hands to the test. I bet $800 here. I think I can get a lot of ace highs out of the way, can start challenging hands like pocket 8s, pocket 9s, and even honestly a hand like ace 10 won't love this situation. But for $800, my opponent makes the call, and now we're off to a turn, which is a 5. Another really great card for me, in my opinion here. I have ace 5 a decent percentage of the time, and obviously still all the best overpairs. I am going to continue bluffing yet again and firing out big for $2,000, sizing up for an easy all-in for about $4,000 on the river, and my opponent does indeed come along for a call. So we've got a pretty big pot brewing. Like I said, one of the biggest pots of the night so far, and we're off to a river, which comes a queen. Banking top pair. Oh my goodness. I was planning to just rip it all in as a bluff, but now maybe I get bailed out to be jamming for value. Like I said, the pot is so big. He's got about $4,000 to $4,500 left in his stack. So, hey, gotta go for it. Top pair is fine enough given the stack to pot ratio, so I'm all in. And he doesn't take too long before quickly making the call. And I don't feel great about it, but it's much, much better when my opponent shows pocket jacks. And looks like I sucked out pretty freaking hard here. Oops, sorry, Mr. Opponent. It's very nice to win the biggest pot of the night here. And I stacked my opponent, thank goodness, to that river, because I don't think my opponent was folding at any point of this hand. The fact that he called so quickly after the river queen means he was certainly committed. So here we go, biggest pot of the night, taking it down via a river suckout. It's been so long since I've been able to say something like that. As the night is winding down, I pick up pocket sevens in the big blind. The button raises to $60. I defend my big blind with a pair, and we're off to a flop of king 4-4, 2 hearts. I check it over to my opponent. He bets out 40 bucks, and here I think it's definitely best to start check raising my pocket pairs to some degree. I want to get protection from overcards, and I can get value from some flush draws or even like those said overcards. So I make it $140, and he makes the call. So we're off to a turn which comes another 4, which is really interesting now, having a full house, trips are on the board. Obviously, my opponent will have like the strongest pocket pairs, but sevens I think is still good enough to value bet here. So I bet 160 bucks, and my opponent comes along for a call yet again. So now the pot is building a little bit here, and the river comes a queen. Now at this point, I don't really imagine my opponent will have hands like queen jack, queen 10, sometimes ace queen, but for the most part here, I don't think this queen is going to interact much with my opponent. And I certainly could still have the best hand, and I decided to go for like a weird in-between value bet for sure, and I chose a small size to $280. Well, my opponent doesn't take too long before ultimately sticking it in for a call, and I lose the pocket nines, unfortunately. So nice hands in my opponent, kind of value owned myself a little too many times here. Hey, that's going to wrap up the session. Very eventful 10-20 game, that's for damn sure, after winning that massive pot with Queen Jack. And it's always nice to walk away with a victory. Wow, what a lovely turn of events that was, to death run 5-10 and then sun run the 10-20. End of the day, very, very good for morale to run good after getting whacked for like 36K last session. So I was in the game for, in total, I'll just include everything in total, in for 10,000, out for 16,490. So it's a pretty good win, especially in these like very tough pro heavy games where there's not many like recreationals. So nice to book a win, run good, and positive movement, at least in the road to $1 million category. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.